Hey, Fernando. Just wondering if we should get started or
Hi. I don't know. I hear
I know
from.
Benj is on the agenda, but I just gave him a quick ping, but I don't know if
Oh,
we're planning on doing things, but I'm I'm new to this group and uh just wanted to say hey.
hi. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I'm an engineering manager here at Apollo. I serve the maintainers of Apollo Client and Apollo iOS and Apollo Kotlin, and the Apollo Client team is interested in helping to do GraphQL.js maintenance and reviews and things like that as kind of a rotating crew. And so I just wanted to show up to the first working group meeting that I could, just to say hello and see how we could be helpful and see where um, you know what kind of working style we want to have as a team together. So I don't know, but yeah. So that's basically my little blurb.
Oh, so Benji also invited me that I start from my English first, but I have some PRs and pull requests, and I want to help too and maintain the project. So I'm
Hmm.
to talk about it. So I try to help too,
All
because
right. Okay.
there's I'm not from the team, so just to
Mhm.
clarify it, but trying to help too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So we're both in the same boat, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Um, I just tapped him on the shoulder. Okay, it's not in his calendar, he says. Okay. I thought I saw it being today, and I see it in the agenda.
Yeah, from the
Um,
GitHub it's now, but I don't know.
yeah, because it says what, it's at 5 UTC, which I think is right now. We'll see if we can make it. If not, I'm sure either we could reschedule or, whatever, figure it out. Where are you located?
Uh, oh,
Oh, there he
Benji.
is. Hey, Benji.
Hey folks, sorry about that. That was both not in my personal calendar, nor I think in the foundation calendar. Or maybe it is in the foundation one and I just haven't copied it across. Either way, I'll get those two things addressed.
Cool.
Nice to see you all. How are we doing?
Good to see you too. Is now an okay time, Benji? I'm sure we can figure out it's,
I do
getting
actually
surprised
have
with the
to dash
calendar
off
notification.
in actually about an hour, so no, it should be fine. Um, yeah, Fernando, I don't see you in the agenda. Please add yourself.
Oh, okay.
I'll drop you a link.
Yeah. Oh, same
Jeff's already
time.
done it. Good job, Jeff. Um, I don't see that we actually have any agenda items for today. Is there something that you wanted to discuss?
I have one thing. Was more just wanted to. This is my first time at a GraphQL.js working group meeting, and the Apollo client team is interested in contributing here and being able to help with the reviews and with any other kind of efforts we see. But one of the things that um, I'm trying to help understand is because we have three engineers on the team and everything like that, how to best like how we how we do things on GraphQL.js, what's the working style like, how can we make an impact there, and what's the best way to like to show up. And so I just thought I'd go to the first meeting and be helpful, kind of understand where we're at, what our biggest needs are, and go from there. So it's very open-ended in my part. I wanted to just kind of show up and see where we could make the most impact and where we're needed, I guess.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let us let me kick us off officially then. So welcome to the GraphQL.js working group. By being here, we have all agreed to the specification membership agreement, the participation guidelines, the contribution guide, and the code of conduct, links to which are all in the agenda. So please take a read of those if you haven't recently. There are three of us on the call today. I'm Benji.
I'm Jeff.
Fernando.
Lovely. And I will attempt to take some notes as well, since there's just the three of us. I shan't bother going through the agenda, the action items, sorry. So we'll just head straight onto the conversation that Jeff raised just now. So this is the GraphQL.js working group. We're sort of between maintainers right now. So I am acting as a host of the meeting, but I'm not really a maintainer of GraphQL.js. So all help welcome. We at the previous working group, we have figured out much of what's involved when it comes to doing the releases for GraphQL.js. So I think we actually have like a checklist of things to do there now, but we haven't actually gone through and done a release yet. We basically need to do a bit of catching up. We're in a bit of an in-between times right now, from what I can gather. We have version 16, which is out and released. The main branch represents GraphQL.js 17, the core part of which was to be incremental delivery. But incremental delivery is still undergoing heavy iteration. So we're sort of, main isn't release worthy, but also doesn't represent version 16. So it's an interesting state. There are definitely things that we need to get out at some point soon. And there's a lot of triage that needs doing and just generally catching up. Really, we need to make a plan, and we don't really have a plan yet. So I think one of the main things that we'd like to do, or that I think might be a sensible approach, would be to change the main branch back to representing GraphQL 16, make changes to that, maybe pull some of the changes from the 17 branch backport them into 16, and at least address any of the upcoming issues, anything that needs triaging, anything that's holding up the RFC process, and so on. And then we can have a look again at version 17 when the incremental delivery stuff is more further advanced. Does that align with what your expectations would be?
Makes sense to me perfectly. I'm wondering, in like the release process, have we considered like a workflow, like change sets, for doing some of this?
Yes, so change that has been mooted, but we do actually have an established release process. There are scripts in the repository that manage releases, and I think at the moment it's managed effectively with labels. One of the interesting things about labels, as compared to change sets, for example, is that you can just add them afterwards. So like when you're about to do a release, you can make sure everything that's going out has been labeled correctly. Then you run the script and it generates the release notes for you. That's my understanding anyway. But as I say, I'm not a maintainer. I haven't done a release of GraphQL.js. So this is all just what I've gathered so far from Ivan and Sahaj and anyone else that's involved in the project as we try and smooth the takeover. So you asked about how you could help. Help with any of what I just outlined would be great. Having a plan that we can execute on, like a checklist of things that we need to do, would be fantastic. One of the takeaway action items from the last meeting was actually to compile all of the different bits of like, here are our different procedures into like one document so that we have a point of reference for all of that. So I think that's work that's still going on. I'm just looking through the action items. I was trying to figure out. Yeah, so Sahaj is tasked with that at the moment. We also, and I think this is lower priority, but we also have 5 different roles, 5 different teams in the GraphQL organization that relate to GraphQL.js. We've got GraphQL.js reviewers, right? Collaborators, maintainers, reviewers, and triage team. And so we're talking about maybe squishing that back down to maybe just like 2 roles, which would be good. So yeah, having your involvement in some of those roles would also be excellent. Yeah. How would you like to be involved?
It all sounds great. I don't think we need to overthink it. Any one of those things seems like low-hanging fruit that we can help with. So um, one of the things, okay, a few things come to mind there, but seems like we have some action items in these like specific areas. Do we have a corresponding like issues to this? Sometimes it's easier
So we
to
have
get.
2 main repositories. We have the
Yeah,
GraphQL.js WG repository, which is where our action items from these meetings go. And of course, the main GraphQL.js repository.
yeah,
And I think there is an issue on that one
yeah.
about the maintainer switchover.
Got it. Yeah, I see it here now. The rules that was so open last month. Figure out how to publish and release using GitHub Actions. And okay, great.
So on that last one, just to fill you in with some additional context, we already have the ability to push releases using GitHub Actions for
Mhm.
canaries. So you can, on a pull request, you can say like, I forget what it is, but like GitHub bot do the release, and it will push out a canary for you. What we want to do maybe is have it so that that just does normal releases as well. But we need to figure out the how it works really and how to make
Mm,
it do that.
okay. I am reading as we chat about this too. So yeah, that all sounds good. Um, okay. Yeah, just trying to take a lay of the land here.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
great. Is there like a place like I guess we have a Discord for GraphQL.js, right? In the GraphQL Discord.
We do. I don't know
Yeah,
how widely it's used,
yeah,
but that I think would be the place that I would go to.
yeah, I see it
Yeah,
here.
it is just GraphQL.js on the main GraphQL Discord.
Okay,
Um,
great.
doesn't seem particularly active.
Okay. Yeah, some activity at the end of last month, looks like. Okay. Okay, cool.
Another thing worth raising, which was mentioned by a community member, is there's also the GraphQL Relay.js project, which is not Relay. It's the list of like helper utilities for building a GraphQL.js schema for Relay. So things like dealing with connections and stuff.
Hmm.
So we have that, and I think the last release of that was in 2021. Um, so we have a person that's interested in potentially helping to maintain that package. There's not actually much that needs to be done on that one, but I just wanted to bring it up at the working group as well.
All right. I think that's the extent of my questions right now. And sorry, and I'm gonna use up all the oxygen too, Fernando. Did you have a topic to bring as well.
Fernando was the person who I mentioned.
There you go.
So I actually have been there for two reasons. One of them is to talk about a, a pull request, more of a feature, like a quite a big feature to GraphQL.js. I know that it's between maintainers now, but it's just to present here what it's being talked about. But it's quite. I use GraphQL in production. I work for you along with Sibelius. He's at the Discord server, but we have been having problems with uh, sorry, with circular dependencies. So like we have two types, one have dependence on another. So it's just a little feature to so we can remove these problems. And the other is just to push another pull request of a friend of mine. Um, I think it's one, but it's for Relay.js, which I think Benji talked that said that it don't have a maintainer right now. So we are talking of maybe I can could help maintaining this project since it's quite simple and just updating dependencies and things like that. So it's there's two things.
Perfect. For those watching this back on YouTube, those were GraphQL.js pull request number 3995 and GraphQL Relay.js pull request number 389. Lovely. So we'll talk about Relay.js one first because I already am familiar with it. It looks like a simple pull request. I like it. It's simple. Seems like it solves the problem. It doesn't look to me like it causes any backwards compatibility issues. Like should be able to just go out in a patch release and not cause any problems. So that is great. One concern that I have around it is that given that this library hasn't been released since 2021, it could be that other packages it depends on have the need to be updated, and that may relate to other issues. I'm also not sure who even has the privileges to actually be able to release a new version of this. But I'm inclined to go ahead and merge this pull request. And in fact, I can see that both Rob and Dennis have approved it as well. So let me just quickly pass it again carefully. I'm interested why you did the generics in the current order. Why did you do them input, output, and context?
In the sorry, I didn't understand. It's
Sure. So on your pull request 389, sorry, you have the mutation function, which you've added generics to, and the generics you've added are t input, t output, and t context. But where they're used is t input, t context, and t output. I was just wondering if there was a particular motivation for defining them in the order that you did.
so I don't really know because it's not a friend of mine. I could asking him, but I think
Oh,
it's
sorry,
because
yeah.
of the order of things. So normally the context is it comes with the last thing and I don't really know how to answer this question, but I also think it's the correct um, sort order. Sorry, the correct order because normally with tech context is not always used. It's just we can think boot is the most used one, so I would say that, but I really don't know.
Yeah, I think it makes intuitive sense to me that you would do input output context. I just want to, if we're going to merge this, I just want to make sure that it aligns with other things. But scanning through the file, I don't even see other context usages. I'm going to have a quick scan over the rest of the code base. Sorry to do this online whilst you wait for me to read code, but as is the way of things. Let's have a look at connection. It looks like it might be the case that the context type isn't really used anywhere else anyway. So this would be the first edition of it, potentially. Let's have a look this way. Just press dot to enable the GitHub in-browser editor. Okay, so tcontext is used in the node.ts file. And it does always seem to be the final in any list of generics. So yeah, perfect. Looks good to me. I think that's good to go. I'm going to approve it and merge it. Now, of course, merging it is only half the battle. We still got to get it released, but it's a good first step. Fernanda, you can follow up with me directly on Discord to talk about getting that released. Okay, so then we have the GraphQL.js pull request. So this one is actually your pull request, and this is to do with reference types. So if I understand correctly, to summarize what you're trying to address here, you have there's an issue when we define types in GraphQL because they often want to form a cycle. So for example, a user may want to reference a friend, which is in itself a user. Or often like there's longer cycles that can happen. But either way, they need to be addressed. The way that GraphQL.js traditionally handles this when defining things using the class-based syntax is that everything works based on callbacks. So fields is a callback, interfaces is a callback, and so on. And those callbacks aren't actually called until after the class has been created. So by the time they are called, the relevant types will already exist in memory, and so you can reference them. Your solution here is to produce an alternative to this, where instead of using the reference to that class that has been constructed, it is to reference the type by its name, and then to have the system look up that type by its name using a similar system to what's in place currently. Does that sound correct?
Yep. It's just a simple pull request for now, just so we can discuss more, but it's basically it.
Okay. It's an interesting approach. I'd like to understand more about why the current situation doesn't work for you. I have a feeling it was to do with actually the way that you define your code base. Maybe it's in CommonJS, and thus the actual modules themselves, you have a dependency cycling issue there. Is that accurate?
Yep, it's not exactly a problem with when running, but for tools like lint, they often have a rule that check for the secret dependence and gives an error. So we need to always needing to ignore those rules. So for a better code base, I think reference the types would be better.
Interesting. So you're saying things like, I don't know, no use before define and that sort of stuff. Well, one of them has to be defined first, and the other one, it might want to reference the other one. That makes some sense to me. As I say, I'm not the maintainer of this library, so I don't really feel that I'm in any decision-making thing. So I'll just give you my personal opinion, and this isn't the opinion of the project. This is just me. But I think that it might add a layer of complexity and a maintenance overhead to GraphQL.js whilst only really solving an issue with the way that your tooling is configured. And that many bits of tooling are configured, to be fair. But I think that there's nothing wrong with the way that the system works. It's just that, for example, ESLint is being overzealous. That's my personal take on it. Not wanting to discourage you from contributing or anything like that, but trying to keep projects like this as simple as possible, and they are complicated projects, can be essential. Every little thing that we add increases the security burden and the maintenance burden. And it means when we start to add things like more types in future, we have to keep in mind all these little extra things that we have. So generally, if we can do things just one way, that's better than having two ways to do the same thing.
That makes sense. I agree with you.
Awesome. Hopefully next month, if it is that I forgot to add this to the GraphQL calendar, then it's probably my fault that there aren't enough people showing up today. So I'll get that fixed in the calendar. And in fact, I'll take that as an action item if someone wants to add that to the notes for me, fix the GraphQL calendar. Then hopefully we'll get better attendance next month and we can make a bit more progress. Jeff, it would be amazing if you and the Apollo team want to get more involved. Just, yeah, let us know in the GraphQL.js channel, I guess, and also on the issues, how you would like to do it, what you'd like to do. Probably I'm in a position to grant the relevant privileges that are needed. So for example, if we want to create a project board or something like that, I can probably grant the privileges to do that so that progress can be made. So yeah, just stay in touch. Let me know what you need and we'll see what
for
we can
sure.
do.
I get a lot of signal here. I really appreciate it. We have our weekly team meetings too. We'll be chatting through this next week as well. But in the meantime, I think there are a few things to dig a little further into here and touch base with a few of the folks who are already named here and see how we can help.
Awesome.
All right.
All right. Well, if there is no further business, I'll call this meeting to an end. And thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Great to meet you, Fernando, and good to see you again, Benji.
See you next week, next month. Bye.